when a mouse became a defendant and was actually put on trial. The villagers sued him, the court summoned him, and strangest of all, he actually had a lawyer to defend him. This happened in Europe, when a group of mice destroyed the villagers' crops and caused serious damage. So the villagers decided to do something that sounds like it came straight out of a cartoon. They took the mouse to court. The court accepted the case and issued a summons ordering the mouse to appear. But of course, no mouse showed up. In a human case, the court would simply deal with the failure to appear. But there was one problem. This was a mouse. So how exactly do you track down the defendant? Eventually, a lawyer stepped in to defend the mice. His name was Barthélemy de Chasseneux. And instead of telling the court, "My client is a mouse, you can't put him on trial," he chose to fight the case under the law. His first argument was about the summons. If the mice were scattered across different places, how could the court be sure that every mouse had actually received the summons? If some mice didn't even know they had been summoned, how could they be accused of deliberately refusing to appear in court? So the court had to deal with the problem of properly announcing the summons throughout the area. Put simply, they had to call all the mice first, and then deal with the case. The court handled that problem. A new hearing was scheduled, and this time, the mice still didn't show up. At this point, the lawyer could have ended the case easily by saying, "See, the defendant can't appear." But he didn't do that. Instead, he came up with a new argument, and that argument suddenly changed the entire case. The lawyer said, "My client is willing to come to court.
I'm ready.
But there's a problem. There are cats along the way." Yes, cats.
I'm a cat.
Because a mouse really has to travel to court, it has to leave its hiding place and cross open areas. They were not along the way, there are predators ready to kill it. So the lawyer had another argument. The court really wanted his client to appear, then the court had to guarantee first that the mouse could make the journey safely. It sounds like a joke, but in the context of the case, it became a real legal problem. Because think about it, what was the court supposed to do? Send police officers to protect the mouse?
What do we do? Let's just walk away.
Order villagers not to let their cats outside? Or build a cat-free path just for the defendant? The case that started with the question, did the mouse actually do something wrong, would now become a case where the court had to think about, how do we get a mouse to court without letting the cats eat it? And that is what makes this case so absurd.
But he's just a mouse.
It's not just because someone put a mouse on trial, it's because the mouse's lawyer never tried to make the case look ridiculous. Instead, he played by the rules of the court, one argument at a time, until finally, the rules themselves became the problem. Cases involving animals like this were not limited to just one mouse case. Across Europe, there are historical records of animals being put through legal proceedings in several different cases, including animals accused of destroying crops and animals accused of causing harm to humans. But the mouse case became one of the stories that was told and retold for generations because it offers one of the strangest pictures of law in historical Europe. There was a plaintiff, there was a defendant, there was a lawyer, there was a court. There was only one thing missing. The defendant couldn't speak. And even so, someone was still willing to fight the case all the way. The details of the mouse case have been told in several different versions over time, and historians warn that some of those details may have been expanded or added later. But one thing is certain. Animals really were brought into legal proceedings in Europe, and these stories were recorded in the history of law. Which leaves us with a question more interesting than simply asking, was the mouse guilty? The real question is, if the law says everyone has the right to justice, what happens when the defendant is a mouse? If it were you, which animal would you sue?